Welcome back to Inside Sources. Now we want to have a quick discussion on issues around the economy, especially about food prices and some other developments that we have seen in the economy. To join me in that conversation today, I have a former presidential advisor on agriculture in the Buhari or Shibaju administration, returning back to Inside Sources, Mr. Dolapo Bright. You're welcome back to Inside Sources.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And to also join us in that important conversation, we have Mr. Mojeed Dahiru, notable TV analyst and newspaper columnist. Mr. Dahiru, welcome back to Inside Sources.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here.
All right. So let's start with Mr. Bright. And, I wanted to have your assessment of, quite a bit of excitement that we have around the drop in food prices. So how do we interpret that in your own view? What's going on?
Yeah. The food, we have a drop in food prices, yes. But we always have drop in food prices in February anyway. But you see, this year is different in the sense that the grains generally, the price is supposed to be going up towards the end of February and March, but it's not. You see, the reason why we have the drop in grains, the price of grains, not that the price, let me first of all put it this way. Price of grains last year, February, was around 20-something, between 28 and 32, because I sold my maize between 28 and 32 last year, February. So when we look at the same period, February 2025, right, we are selling grains between 45 and 50. It's high. But the reason why people are saying the price of maize is low, is going down, is because of the fact that the price of maize that we bought for between 28 to 35 at that time came to 120.
Okay.
120,000. Just like onions. By December, onions was reaching 200 and something, 300 and something thousand. Now onions is down. The reason why onions is down at this time is because of the fact that the dry season harvest is out. And there's a lot of people doing dry season harvest. Dry season onions production. In Kano, in Sokoto, in Kebbi. All of them, they are bringing out the onions. So definitely price of onions will come down. Definitely price of tomato will come down. Definitely price of pepper will come down. But last week, Atarudu, that is a bonus scotch, that is Habanero, is going up again. Because I always monitor all these prices.
Why is that?
It is going up because of we always forget about demand and supply. We are having problems with grains now in terms of price because of the fact that the government imported grains from outside the country at zero duty, which is, to me, is a disgrace. It's going to affect the farmers. So many farmers are not happy about what is happening. Let me explain. How much does it cost a farmer to produce an hectare of maize? He will spend around 900,000. When I produced my maize 2023, rainy season, right, it cost me around 300 and something. Now it's 900 and something.
300 something
thousand. Yes.
To produce
one hectare.
What space?
One hectare. All right. If you now put the handling, post-harvest handling, and all those things, drying and everything, and a farmer is now selling at 40,000, he's not making profit. Let's look at it this way. Let's do some maths. Okay. Nigeria gets around, we are struggling to get two tons of maize, of 2 tons per hectare in our maize production. All right, let's assume that we have 2 tons.
Compared to?
Yes, 2 tons will give us 20 bags.
Okay.
All right, and you are selling the bags at 40,000. That's 800,000.
Right.
Has it covered your cost of production? It has not. And you see, the government is not looking at this. We are celebrating importation of grains from other countries, and these countries are countries that support their farmers. Thailand supports rice farmers by $1.6 billion every time they support them.
In subsidies.
In subsidy. Europe supports farmers generally $34 billion annually, even more than United States. United States is 24.
Do you have this? Do you have our own figures in Nigeria that you can compare with?
We are not supporting. What are we supporting? We are not supporting anything. Even our support is making the farmers, is destroying the farmers more than what it should be. Let me give you.
You mean what is supposed to be a support?
What is supposed to be a support? Last year, the president said we are going to give fertilizer to farmers. When was that? In July. We started planting March. People have started planting March. They are planting now. They are going to continue to plant till June. And the government wants to give them fertilizer in July. And the fertilizer came when? In September.
Too late.
The senators started distributing fertilizer. These people started distributing fertilizer. Even in Ekiti, they were distributing in November. It's too late.
Okay, all right.
Too late.
I do understand.
So please, we must not jubilate. The price of, is still going to go up. It's going to go up in the sense that unless the president will continue to import food, the demand for food in Nigeria, the population, we are 200 and something million. The demand for food is high. We've got to produce every time, not once in a year. And the government must support the farmers because the support of farmers is critical to our food security.
Okay, all right. So we are going to come back to you. Let me take it to Mr. Majid. And I want Mr. Majid to take a broad perspective. Are the people feeling the impact of this? Drop in food prices generally, and then what's your own take?
Nobody's feeling the impact, and it cannot be felt. Because there was a sharp rise in the price of food commodities between May 29, 2023, and of course, February this year, way above the affordability threshold of majority of the people of Nigeria, majority. And even the implementation of the 70,000 minimum wage has not helped to actually mitigate that problem of unaffordable food items for the majority of our people, because there are some defective interventions in the government. What the government seeks to do by way of economic reforms have ended up probably deforming our economy and has jeopardized food security in the process. Now, before now, what has government didn't have any concise policy on food security. It was mostly haphazard, just playing to the gallery, if you ask me, and not something that was a serious policy of state to guarantee availability, affordability, and accessibility of food, which is food security, to citizens. But this has been made worse now by the fact that available food items in the market are simply unaffordable. Families are struggling because they can't simply pay for it. They're not earning enough to feed well. So this is a very fundamental problem. I've always argued that Nigeria is not suffering from cost of living crisis. That should be very charitable. What Nigeria suffers from is cost of existence crisis.
Wow.
Because in the UK, for instance, where this phrase was made popular, they described their own plight as cost of living, right? But nobody in the UK ever complained of the high cost of food items. It's something you don't have in the UK. In the UK, well, accommodation might be expensive, some other things might be unaffordable, energy might be expensive.
But no food.
But food is not an existential problem in the UK. And like this party already pointed out, that is because in most civilized climes, food production along the entire value chain is heavily subsidized for the purpose of food security. Let me tell you something today. Nigeria is about the only country that I can think of in the Committee of Nations where the price of food items, food produce, agri-produce, are actually determined by market forces.
Only?
Only. I heard him talk about demand and supply. You see, farmers are left on their own to struggle through difficult terrain of producing food in Nigeria. And so they bring it to the market, and they add their cost of production, their cost of recovery of investment, and all other costs on it. And the citizens that are barely surviving on less than $40 per month as minimum wage have to now pay through their nose for these things. In other countries, food prices are not reflective, are not market reflective, because it is controlled through very, substantial intervention, subsidies, and some level of price control. It's absolutely lacking in Nigeria, because the government of Nigeria apparently does not care about how their citizens survive in terms of feeding, basic feeding. It's as simple as that.
Very, very interesting way to open the conversation, and I want us to dimension it in quite a few ways. And I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Bright, now to say that, all right, so you made a point that government is not helping. You also made a point that, look, those prices are basically, the falling prices, as it were, is quite cosmetic, even though you do that word. That's not something that is sustainable.
Yeah.
What would you have government do? What kind of support ought to come from government to the farmers?
Thank you for that question. Although, it's supposed to be long, but I'll cut it short. Fundamentally, our farmers, the smallholder farmers are the people supplying 80% of what we eat. And the government is not doing anything from federal, state, and local. They're not doing what they're supposed to do. You see, and it's because of the fact that the federal government, not this federal government, from the beginning.
Cumulatively.
Yeah, they dominated the sector. You dominate a sector that you cannot fund. That's the problem.
So how do the federal government dominate the agri sector?
They are dominating the agri sector in the sense that they are forming the ADP. They are forming, they want to supply fertilizer. They want to bring tractor. They want to do this, they want to do that. No. What you are supposed to do, your duty is governance. Let's look at governance. All right, look at how we can increase knowledge in agriculture. That's the work of federal government, knowledge. How can we coordinate the players in the agricultural sector, the private sector, the farmers, the government, and all of them? That's what governance is about. Then the government can now come up with policies in terms of what are the strategies, or what can we do to help. The strategy will come with governance, but the policy will now say what can we do to now do what he is saying, support farmers to give us food security. Let's take the tractor, for example. You are bringing tractors.
Yeah, the president said about 2,000.
Yeah, you are bringing 2,000 plus. Even bring 10,000 tractors. You brought only 200 and something now, less than 300. Even we bring the 10,000 now. Without all the attachment, let me tell you something. Mechanization of agriculture is not about tractor alone. Tractor, what we are doing now is tractorization. That's what we call tractorization. The tractor has attachments that will work. All right, you have tractors that will do your land preparation. What happens to the weeding? Will the tractor do it for you? But the tractor can do it for you if we plant properly. The tractor can do the weeding, can do the harvesting, can do even the drilling of the seed.
Why do you think the tractors will not do it?
Because we don't put into consideration all those things. We don't look at mechanization as a whole. We look at tractor in terms of procurement. You are going to procure tractor.
So if you are going to look at it as a whole, what does that mean? Does it mean that we have to import the particular type of tractors? Or?
Yeah, we need different things to support these farmers. But you see, why must government import and give farmers? How do you determine the farmers that you are going to give?
The tractors.
And the tractors and so on and so forth. The tractors that you are bringing from Belarus, do they have parts? You see, the problem with us, I've traveled around this country, several times, meeting farmers and so on and so forth. You go to different states, you see different tractors from different places. I was at Plateau State, ASTC, they have beautiful program managed by the Israeli before, and that government came and just put it aside. But the tractor, very good tractor from Italy, they didn't have parts.
The tractors didn't have parts to maintain them.
To maintain them, so they will remove one part to the other.
All right. Okay. All right. So
that's part of the reason why the tractor will not work.
And the fertilizers too will not work?
No, the fertilizer, let me tell you something. Before you can give fertilizer, what is the nutrient that you want to replace? We are replacing nutrients on the soil. And you give fertilizer, you give urea. We are going to, let me tell you something, in the north, the governors should know that they are just destroying the land the more, in the sense that if you are putting the wrong nutrient on the soil, because of you want to procure fertilizer and give them at the wrong time, give them in September and so on and so forth.
Why are we assuming that they are giving the wrong nutrient?
They are giving the wrong nutrient because different. All right. For example, I planted yam. I planted because I wanted to follow the farmers to know how they feel. I've planted so many things. Yam, planted maize, rice, sesame seed, potato, sweet potato, and so on and so forth. They have different
all right.
nutrients.
Let's take it to Mr. Mojid, and I want you to respond to that, but also talk about what about the state governments? I think
the major responsibility for agricultural production should lie with the states for a number of reasons. Number one, the control of land, which is a major capital injection for agricultural production, is under the control of states.
Yeah.
But there's something about land management system in Nigeria that we need to really have a conversation about. Apart from the FCT and a few other states here and there, the majority of the 36 states of Nigeria, or the government of the 36 states of the Federation, have not substantially acquired land in line with the Land Use Act. I keep making this point. It's when you acquire land, pay the necessary compensations.
Yeah.
You must now plan your agricultural economics around land utilization in a differentiated manner that will plug into the knowledge base agriculture is talking about. That is, you must know how to plant where, when, and how, not to achieve maximum yield per hectare. In Nigeria today, we have left farming in the hands of rural farmers that are still operating at, Stone Age technology. Farming of hoe and cutlass, living in mud houses in farmstead, without electricity, without water, without any infrastructure at all to support life.
That about 80% of our farmers are in that category.
Well, 80 that's the reality. And when you talk about procurement of tractors and fertilizers, I'll tell you the truth. Most of those tractors, if any at all, do not get to those real farmers.
Where do they end up?
They end up as, see, let me tell you, what government does is this. They know that agriculture is an important thing. They know that people want to be seen doing about food security.
Right.
So they procure fertilizers for the upstream. There's this elaborate commissioning event for tractors. There's this elaborate show of concern during distribution of fertilizers. I think they do that mostly for the optics, not because it's going to really impact positively in food production. So they've done that, so they record a part of the achievement. I will provide 100 tractors to cultivate over maybe 10,000 hectares of land, which is grossly inadequate. So they just do that for the optics, really. And it ends there. If you go to the farm state, if you go across this country, if you go to Agatu, if you go to Owo, if you go to Rebecca, go to all the farming communities in Nigeria, you will not see any of this input in these places. And so we need a realization. I don't know, I keep saying this thing, it's a decision that government needs to reach. So look, we need to provide food security. There's nothing, we can do the analysis and bring out all the data. Until somebody takes that decision, to say, look, we need to provide food. I want to provide support for production. It will not happen. And as it starts today, most state governments are simply treating agricultural production with levity because a situation where every end of the month, a governor from Zamfara to Kebbi and from Kebbi to Cross River do not need to lift a finger. He or she does not need to till a square foot or a square kilometer of land to get hundreds of billions of naira in oil money allocation every month. So why do I need to sort out my...
So no incentive.
There's no basis to work. Whereas Nigeria should have used this advantage of monthly allocation and with the blessing of a very fertile land. When they say Nigerian land is fertile, it is not.
No,
it's
not that fertile.
No, what we are saying is, at least it is more fertile than Singapore, more fertile than Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, we have
more fertile than Saudi Arabia. For my house, in my house, for example, I have 2 residences, and I tell what has happened in each of those residences.
Right.
I ate pawpaw and threw away into the trash bin.
Yes.
Just, I mean, as I would have done, as everybody would do.
Yeah.
And what did I discover? In between where the tarred road in my estate, you have the trash bin is actually where it is put. Between the intersection between the interlocking tiles, the tarred road,
right,
and what do you call it, paving stone,
right,
all concrete. Apparently, a piece of the seed dropped inside
the tarred.
Do you know it germinated and started sprouting pawpaw at a very short height?
Wow.
Without being tended to. In my other house, my borehole, sometimes I put it on, so the water overflows.
Right.
And before I could put it off, it will take some time. You know, sometimes you just forget about the fact that you put on your borehole and all that. After a while, a tree started going from beneath the interlock and was going to push the tank over. I didn't have to cultivate it. I have a banana plantation behind my house that I don't water, I don't cultivate it, and it sprouts every now and then.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting.
I'm just saying that we have this advantage in some parts of Nigeria. I've been to Cross River. I've been to Budukatu Ranch. Boy, you needed to see the wonder of nature there.
So we need...
Some countries don't have this natural advantage that can be enhanced and properly utilized. And I'm saying, at least we have capital as state governments every month.
Right.
Why not? It means it's just a little of what you need to convert this already fertile land into more fertility for production. Right. Unlike some other countries that need to use very high level of technology.
Yeah, the point is well made. You know, thank you.
Singapore, for example, has to use hydroponics to grow basic food. We don't do that in Nigeria.
So what we need to get together is to get our hearts together.
Yes.
You know, especially the states.
They need to get serious. The different way can now support through policy.
Okay.
First, for food security, if there's excess, you cannot export.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let me say something about that.
Yeah, please.
You know, most of the time you are from the south.
No, I'm from Kogi State. I'm the north.
Yeah, I mean, probably. Well, no. When you travel around the country, you discover that one of the challenges, and like I always say, is because of the fact that the federal government is doing everything. One of our challenges is this. I mean, the South is not doing. To me, they are doing nothing when it comes to agriculture. They're doing zero.
Shouldn't we hold the governors responsible?
I mean, of course. That's where I'm going. I mean, so most of the time people talk about throwing something on the floor and it will grow. No, I mean, it will grow, but what about the yield that we're talking about? You see, ordinary seed, we have a problem. We all are heirloom seed. That is our seed of olden days seed. We can't plant it again. Most of the seed that we use now for all those things that you grains and all those things, they are hybrid seeds that are sort of manufactured, not like GMO, but hybrid seed. Right. So what I'm saying is this. Some state governors, not that they are trying, in their state, the farmers are always doing what they are supposed to do. They just want a little help from the government. They just want a little help from the government. They are doing what they are supposed to do. So, but you see, the help they want is the knowledge.
Okay.
That's my conclusion when it comes to, because when you go to Jigawa State, you see rice. You go to Kebbi, you see rice. You go to Sokoto, you see onions. You go to all those places. But you see, their production is still below par.
All right. Okay, Mr. Bright, because of our time, you know, we have to go. Thank you so much, you know, for the insight. I think it's clear, you know, from what both of you are saying, that government has to find a more strategic way to intervene and to be able to determine exactly what it is that our farmers need, you know. And the conversation continues. You know, we certainly cannot continue it. We cannot finish it in one day. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Mojid Dairu, and thank you so much, Mr. Dolapo Bright, for coming to Inside Sources.